You already exist.
Welcome to the WAN show, where the people that we ask to set up our camera literally never get the headroom right for me and Luke. Literally never. Literally not once.
We can get the shoulder width a little bit better. It's still really bad.
But it has never ever once happened because I don't know what they're aiming at.
Cane fix it?
Yeah, I have no idea what they're aiming at, but it's clearly not me and Luke. And I touched the focus one instead of the zoom one.
Oh no.
Alright, so let's just do that. Let's just do that a little bit.
On the WAN show this week, we're going to have great topics like fixing your camera framing.
Yeah. There we go. See,
Yay.
Why do I ask anyone to come in here and help me with it at all?
You should just film everything. You should be the new Line Sectors cameraman. What
yeah,
do you need, Taryn?
I'll be the new Brandon.
Anything for you, Taryn.
Alright, so I'm finally back. It took me a little longer to get...
kinda.
Sort of, yeah.
You're back for like a day.
I wasn't really getting into... Not even a day. I got here like 40 minutes ago, and then I'm literally flying out on Sunday, so I'm not in for an entire day of work. I'm going to Munich. We're doing a thing with BMW. We're going to be checking out some of the tech on... Actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about what we're doing. Well, we're doing a thing in Germany for an undisclosed...
for an undisclosed company.
German company. Staffed by Germans. Or something.
And potentially other people.
The point is, don't worry too much about it. Why don't we go ahead and move right into our topic callouts for the day. So, Bell Mobility sells the information of Canadians. Probably the information of yours truly as a Bell customer who actually recently rolled out Bell company cell phone plans to everyone at Linus Media Group.
Yeah, they know everything about all of us.
For only the last couple months for most of you, though.
That's true.
If that helps at all.
About you for like a long time.
Yep, they know everywhere I've ever gone for
and they read all your texts, so...
For a long-ass time.
That's awkward.
Yeah.
That's gotta be awkward.
Well, I mean, really the ones that I send to you are the only ones that are kind of awkward, so... Yeah,
that's how I know that they were awkward.
But at least that's as awkward as it gets.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
What else we got here for topics today?
We also have China installing 3D printers in all 400,000 of its primary schools.
That is freaking cool.
That's cool, and it's insane that they have 400,000 primary schools. But yeah, that's actually awesome that they're installing those everywhere.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more after, though.
This is just the intro. Good point.
Way to go.
I almost went a little bit too far.
My dock reloaded, so I can't even see them. AMD's financial results. $180 million net loss in Q1. That is... $180 million is a lot of money to not have.
Yeah, really. And then ASUS apparently is unveiling a watch that has 10 days of battery life.
10 days of battery. You know, I used to have a watch that had like a year of battery life.
I think, yeah.
It's kind of like the old... You know what's funny is... okay, you know what? We'll get into this later. Let's roll the intro. Really?
Didn't work. See, I was telling you. So you gotta like remove it, and then no, it won't work at all.
What?
Yeah, you have to or just not remove it, but you have to drag another one in. So Squarespace is awesome. You can have websites that are more like vertical rectangle or horizontal rectangle than squares.
You are so not helping.
Whatever, doesn't matter. Squarespace.
No, it's gonna be like super loud. Yeah. What?
Sorry for your ears.
How do you change it?
On that one.
How do you change it?
That's probably better.
No, when you're done, do nothing. Do not rewind. Thank you. All right, Linus Tech Tips. They sit on the couch eventually. All right, Squarespace. Linda.
Freshbooks.
And we're back to us. All right, so that was the abysmal intro. I
think that was the most successful intro we've ever had.
I love this show. All right, let's get into our first topic here. This is super exciting. So I'm gonna go ahead. Are you handling link posting today?
Yes, I am.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead.
And I'll actually do it, unlike the Japan WAN show,
where it literally never got done. All right, so wait, where is our other scene here? There we are. I feel weird if I'm not kind of looking at me in the corner as I look and make sure the article's sitting there.
You have to look at yourself all the time?
Chinese government to put... No, you, actually. Chinese government to put 3D printers in all 400,000 elementary schools by next year.
That's pretty sick.
So this is incredible for a number of reasons. Number one is, so compared to the U.S., that is, what does that work out to? It was about 70,000 U.S. schools. So
there's about 70,000 U.S. elementary schools.
Like 5 to 6 times as many elementary schools.
Actually, pretty nuts, and that's at probably around $400 to $3,000 per printer. So that's actually a freaking lot of money.
Yep, metric butt ton of money, but. And obviously, the source here is 3dprint.com.
So it's going to be pretty positive about that.
So it's going to be like, yeah, 3D printing.
Everything possible is good. Yes, cool.
This was posted on the forum by Victoria's Secret, by the way. But I actually completely agree with everything that they're saying. 3D printing is going to be a life skill for the kids of the next generation in the same way that us being able to use a printer is a life skill. And, we take it kind of for granted that, anyone our age knows how to maybe install a printer driver. At the very least, use the print properties dialog to select the printer that they want to print from, and
not fix the printer.
Hopefully change, landscape to portrait or something like you're gonna have these rudimentary skills, and
at least some of them, yeah.
So to my kids, being able to configure, they're gonna laugh when, I don't know how to, preheat the
Dad,
filament or whatever.
I'll show you how to set up the printer, although you'll probably be fine.
And you know what? It's not even, I mean, by the time these are rolling out in homes, I highly doubt we're going to be dealing with the same filament-based 3D printing technologies. There's some other way cooler stuff out there. And as pricing comes down on that stuff, as patents expire over the next, sort of 10 to 25 years, as they're apt to do, there's going to be some really exciting, really cool stuff available in the home. And younger kids are going to completely take for granted that this technology is readily accessible and easy to use.
We did that for a bunch of stuff, though.
Unless you don't give them any access to it.
I see where you're going with that.
This is where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
If young kids don't have access to 3D printing technology and aren't playing with it, because that's what it's all about. That's what learning is about when you're a kid. What did you do with a printer when you were a kid? You printed out ASCII art.
Or like a picture of your face that you scanned on the flatbed scanner.
That's
that
right.
You were also learning how to use.
Or like my buddy whose dad had a color dot matrix.
Oh, damn. Whoa.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever even seen a color dot matrix. So
color
That's epic.
Color dot matrix. So we had these 6-page long, because remember how the pages used to fold accordion style. So we had these 6-page long color printouts of our names that we could put on our walls.
That's cool.
That's the kind of thing that feels stupid to us as adults because we take that technology for granted.
Especially dot matrix.
Because we played with it as kids. So I sit there and I look at that going, well, if 3D printing is the future of rapid manufacturing and the future of being a maker and being able to design things and innovate.
It might be the future of just owning a home.
And China
repair and stuff.
is setting up their entire next generation of children to understand this technology and take it for granted the same way that we take the things that we had for granted. Then you got to kind of look at that and go,
That's
hey, are we investing our money correctly right now?
And Obama kind of agrees with the Linus side of things, where he has said apparently in a State of the Union address that he, I don't have any necessary quotes, but apparently he said that 3D printing is very important.
Yep, he's definitely talked about the importance of 3D printing, and I think the point, it was mentioned in the article on 3dprint.com, but he even brought it up in a State of the Union address, something to do with bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., and this is going to be really important and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that we are underestimating the importance of 3D printing because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But China's going ahead and they're getting ahead of the curve. They're going, yep, we're going to get everyone educated about this while it's still really expensive. So when this stuff starts to hit the mainstream, and we're going to be part of accelerating it to the mainstream, when it hits the mainstream, our population is going to know how to take advantage of this technology and compete better against their rivals. I mean, imagine if everyone on your workforce knew how to use a 3D printer, and if they had a great idea and they could kind of just bring it to you, and all it costs is, your $10 or $20 or,
man.
Hey, who the heck knows how big of a thing they're printing, however much filament they're using. If we get a 3D printer, I'm having like filament rations because I am sure that there are
Taryn
people,
and I, mainly Taryn.
Taryn would print endless Lego.
Yeah.
Like well, I can't even call it Lego. Like Lego knockoff.
Yeah.
Taryn Go.
Yeah, I was just gonna Tergo.
Tergo.
Tergo actually sounds kind of fun.
It's like
I'd play with Tergos.
It's like it's not like the Chinese knockoff. It's like the skinny white dude knockoff. Tergo.
I'd play with Tergos.
Where was I going with this?
Taryn should make some Tergos.
Let's go with nowhere. This was posted by Alex Goes High. Original article here is from neowin.net, and this is one of those things where it's like
we've already spoken a lot about this.
Yeah,
thing.
Part of me is like, wow, that's pretty cool. The other part of me is like, really?
Wow. That's pretty ridiculous.
Okay. Now, hold on a second. So basically, Sharp announces a 5.5-inch 4K display.
806 ppi.
806 pps per inch.
PPs.
Which gets people like me pretty peeping excited.
PPs per inch?
PPs per inch.
It's like RIP in peace.
And that's very important. That's how people rest forever. So basically, Luke and I have kind of talked about how on phones in particular, this whole 5.5-inch thing, I mean, this is rumored to be showing up in devices as soon as late 2016, early 2017. And we've talked in depth about the difference between 1080p and 1440p on a device like this and how there isn't. And moving to 4K is just using up more computational resources for no apparent reason other than to have a bigger, badder spec than the next guy. And this is one of those things that I admire about Apple. I talk about this a lot. I hate on Apple a lot when they do stuff that's really stupid.
Yeah.
But I
like
also...
MacBook.
Oh, man. We'll talk about the watch later. Apparently it's... Okay, whatever. We'll talk about the watch later. But I also have to give them mad respect when they just buck the industry trend and do the correct thing. Apple was correct to move the smartphone industry towards high-resolution displays, high-density displays. They were also correct when they said, you know what, it's actually fine the way it is. And a high-contrast display with good pixel response times and accurate color and all these things that actually matter to the experience, that's more important than us just cranking pixel density for no tangible benefit. And you're going to get better battery life out of that. You're going to get better performance in games when you're running at a lower resolution, especially if there's no reason to be running at a higher resolution. I don't necessarily agree with what Apple does with that extra power savings, where they just make the device thinner instead of putting like a nice wonkin battery in it.
Yeah.
But I have to respect them for doing the right thing versus doing the thing that gives them a more impressive spec sheet. But I'm going to throw something at you here.
Okay. I have a butt as well.
My butt is, who cares about putting this in phones? This is going to be all about...
Yes, okay. You have the same butt as me.
Dad HMD.
Mine's
a little smaller.
Yes. We don't really know yet where the perceivable stoppage is going to be for VR, because I haven't really looked at a 4K screen in VR before. So,
I don't think many people have.
No.
So there's that.
So like we might already be there. It might be like 1440p to 4K. Might not really be.
You've seen 1440p though.
I have, and it feels like there could be more, but there's other stuff that they could do to fix that too. Part of the problem with a lot of demos right now is they're mainly tech demos. So people aren't working on that. But at the same time,
you're not interacting with it, which is a huge problem.
Yeah, exactly. And there's people really high-end in VR that have said that they want to see 4K screens. So I'm kind of leaning towards we do need that. So I'm excited for this because of that, not even remotely interested in it for phones.
I mean, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but haven't we even heard 8K as sort of the magic where it's going to be a good enough number?
Yeah.
We're so far away from the GPU power to drive that, though.
Yes. And because you need the minimum FPS is so important for VR, it's ridiculous. Because if people are like, I want to end up doing VR benchmarks eventually, and what I might even be interested in reporting is just minimums.
Interesting.
Just because that drop is going to be where people get motion sickness. That drop is exactly what you're going to notice all the time.
We're gonna have to start doing the benching completely differently. Like, we're gonna have to go out to an HDMI splitter, and we're gonna have to go to a capture PC, because methods like Fraps simply don't capture instantaneous FPS well enough.
Yeah.
So we're
it's
gonna
really interesting.
We're gonna have to have a look.
We're gonna have to explore. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to explore how we're gonna benchmark stuff for the VR space, but that's not coming now, I guess. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so it's exciting. It's apparently an IGZO panel, which doesn't actually tell us a whole lot about how good it is. That's just the indium gallium something zinc oxide, or I think something along those lines. That just tells us a material that Sharp's using for it, because I've seen IGZO panel displays that look great, and I've seen IGZO panel displays that look good but not as good. So that doesn't tell us everything that we need to know. What I'm really interested to see, though, is, does that mean that we're gonna get 8K, 11-inch monitors?
Right.
That's the same pixel density. This is one of those things. You know what? Maybe an engineer can explain this to me. If anyone out there is a display engineer, hit me up on Twitter or something. Not during the show, because if you look at my Twitter feed during the show, it's ridiculous. But hit me up and let me know if I'm a complete idiot, because I think, aside from yields being exponentially lower, so it should be something two whatever they're called, 2 powers worse, because you've got 4 versus 1, so you've doubled it twice in terms of your odds of having a defect, because you've quadrupled the size. So aside from that, when we have the technology, is there any reason why we can't make, if we can make a 4K display that's 15 inches, is there a reason that we can't make an 8K display that's 30 inches? That's kind of what I would like to understand a little bit better, and there's probably a reason.
Yeah.
I'm just obviously an idiot. Like, why did Apple have to do so much work on the backlight of the Retina iMac to get the brightness high enough when we've already got pixel densities like that on phones that are also super thin and also have backlights? So yeah, someone can school me, and I'm always more than happy to be schooled. Speaking of getting schooled, Coolax Gaming posted on the forum, and this original article here is from AnonTech. If you want to go ahead and...
I already have it.
You are on it today.
I had it posted in the chat so I could post it quickly once you said it.
AMD posts a Q1 2015 result of a $180 million net loss. So a lot of that sort of discussion in the forums about the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 being the savior of AMD looks like they're not the savior of anyone, unfortunately. All this talk about sort of AMD being a great sort of performer at the value end, and that kind of stuff is true, but unfortunately that doesn't do a whole lot of good for their bottom line as a company. I mean, you see a lot of people kind of going, oh, Intel charges so much. Intel's a profitable company. If AMD could charge you, let me see what percentage their loss was. Let me have a look. Hold on. So, oh, no, that's the non-generally accepted. I think they had it broken down by, computing and graphics. So computing and graphics on revenues of $532 million lost $75 million. So AMD processors, AMD CPUs and GPUs need to be 30% more expensive for AMD to be even making like a 10 to 15% profit on it. So you got to ask yourself, if you're an AMD supporter, if they jack their prices 30% tomorrow, would you still buy it? Can they be competitive with the technology they have today? And that's something that many folks in the industry have been kind of looking at AMD and wondering, where is the light at the end of this tunnel? I mean, they have a new APU coming, but we've heard that story every time they've had a new APU coming that's supposed to be the new savior. It's going to be way faster. It's like, that's great. You know who else is coming out with way faster APUs? Intel, which is a real problem for AMD.
There.
That Intel doesn't call it an APU because apparently they think that naming is irrelevant. For whatever reason. Intel just kind of didn't go, we'll support calling this an APU, but Intel's building CPUs with more and more and more powerful GPUs all the time. You look at die shots of the latest Intel chips, it's like if you got a quad-core CPU, for example, or a dual-core CPU, you got like your CPU over here and like your GPU over here.
It's actually pretty crazy.
Intel is building APUs.
They're stepping up quite heavily because for a while there it was no contest at all.
Yep.
And now it's
Intel
closer.
was like such a joke. The one thing that AMD still really lords over Intel on the integrated graphics side is drivers.
Yeah.
And there was a really great post, I want to say it was on Reddit, from a guy who interned at NVIDIA for a while, and he was talking about just how broken games are. And how the only reason any of it works at all is the years and years and years of expertise that the driver teams at NVIDIA and AMD have, just fixing this stuff over and over and over again, and just going in and fixing just fundamental, completely basic stuff, and game by game by game by game. And the fact that they have that entire backlog of fixes means that a new company that tried to, let's say Qualcomm decided they wanted to build a desktop GPU, or let's say Intel decided they wanted to build, codename, let's call it Rarely, or Rarably, or whatever, something like that. Let's say they wanted to build a graphics core. It would be nearly impossible for them to catch up to teams of dozens of people working for literally years on literally just that. Yeah. Fixing broken game code.
Well, look at GTA 5. There was a specific, the name of the driver was GTA 5 for both teams' driver that came out.
Yep.
AMD has a beta GTA 5 driver and NVIDIA has a GTA 5.
And this is with what, by most accounts, seems to be a pretty good port.
Straight up development. Yeah.
Like, they actually did work to make the PC version...
It's really smooth.
Different.
We have our video coming out soon.
Different. Yeah, actually, you've been hard at work on that, haven't you?
There's a bunch more benchmarking numbers than we normally have. And with a call out at the end for what else you might want to see for future gaming benchmarks. I'm trying to take gaming benchmarks away from just graphics card showdowns, and we're going to try and make it like a... How does this game really?
You just gave away everything.
I did.
Because what other component of the system affects game performance?
But we didn't fully explore it, so I'm wondering exactly what they want to see.
Sure.
They'll tell me in the video. It's cool. I don't mind spoiling it. They'll get it soon.
Yeah, no, I already had some ideas. So okay, all right, just spoil it because I'm sure they're going to be giving us a bunch of crap.
GTA is pretty freaking good. What I did was I checked cores. I recently released cores for gaming, so I did a cores for GTA 5 part of the GTA 5 video.
And half the comments under the video are, why didn't you test this game? Why didn't you test that game? You know what? Just calm your panties.
We tested quite a few games.
Now we tested GTA 5, alright?
We're adding that to the slew of things. So we tested it with 2 cores hyper-threaded, 4 cores hyper-threaded, 6 cores hyper-threaded, and 8 cores hyper-threaded.
Ballin'.
I'm not gonna... Should I spoil everything?
Should we do 36 cores hyper-threaded at some point? Oh, for anyone who doesn't, sorry, were you? It's okay. I'll talk about this after you go.
Well, am I spoiling it more, or should I make?
No, let's video? Yeah, you guys should watch the video. Okay, so for those of you who don't follow on Instagram and Twitter and where I've been posting some of this stuff, Intel confirmed we are getting 2, and I feel terrible right now because I've completely forgotten the model number because I don't actually really keep... Here we go. I don't really keep up on the $4,600 processors that much. They're sort of out of my price range, if you know what I mean. But we are getting 2 2699 V3 18-core processors. These are 2.3 gigahertz base frequency 18-core processors. And if you do a little bit of funny math, It does not work this way. If I ever see any of you guys doing this to calculate the relative performance of a CPU, I am giving you guys so much crap about it because it is not the right way to do it.
But you're doing it right now.
I'm doing it right now. But if we went 2.3 gigahertz, which is the minimum, I don't even know what it's going to turbo at normally, times 18, that gives us an equivalent raw sort of processing. I know. Shut up. I know. 4.1 gigahertz. If, and you have to admit this is right. It has 45 megs of cache. Okay. Like, that's more cache than my first computer had RAM. Like, my first computer that I owned was like a Pentium 90 with 32 megs of RAM. It has 50% more RAM than my first computer. So anyway, if you had a program that scaled linearly, perfectly. If you did,
huge if
you did, it would be the equivalent of having a 40 gigahertz CPU in your system, which is bananas.
Ridiculous.
It requires DDR4 server RAM. Did I mention we're getting 2 of them? So we're putting 2 of those in. Supermicro and ASUS are battling it out for who's going to have the motherboard in our system. I'm kind of tempted to just ask them both to send them. And then if the Supermicro one's good and has 10 gigabit onboard LAN, which is a big deal for me because we're going 10 gigabit in the new office. If it's good and it's good, then maybe the Supermicro wins it. But the ASUS one is ASUS, and there's that trust there. I've never really used Supermicro products extensively in the past, although it's server stuff. I mean,
I use Supermicro stuff. It's really solid. I haven't used it as much as ASUS, but
JJ made some compelling arguments for some extra features they have in the UEFI. I know it's JJ, but JJ also isn't just full of crap.
I'm not saying he is.
So
I'm just saying JJ could make compelling arguments for anything.
And they would probably be true. But that's the thing, is JJ finds the value.
JJ finds the way.
Yeah.
I had to. JJ's awesome.
I've had a long day.
It'll be okay, Kay. Oh man.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it there.
This thing's on our next video. Our little tagline thing on the bottom should just be like, "Don't calculate it that way."
Oh yeah, I've got to add some more to the doc.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I noticed some repeat ones.
Yeah,
I get excited to see them because I don't know what they're gonna be. So when they repeat, even I'm like, oh.
Well, you know where those come from is. I know Ed put some of them in, but like a lot of them are like me waking up in the middle of the night and being like, and then like putting it in my phone so that I remember to add it to the doc later. That's where like a lot of that stuff comes from. So anyway,
on our next ASUS coverage video, the tagline should be "JJ knows the way."
You know what? You keep making that joke and you'll pay. You hear what I say?
Yes.
So, what are we using 36 hyper-threaded cores for? We're talking 72 threads.
Yeah.
We have a plan. I don't know if it's going to work, but we have a plan. So, Adobe products, so we're talking Premiere and to a greater extent After Effects, have a feature called Render Farm. Feature, whatever you want to call it. Screw you. You can make a render farm. Okay, so they support render farms, which basically allows you to take a folder and designate that as a watch folder. So then what you do is you drop a project file into that folder, and any render farm machines are going to watch that folder and they're going to go, hey, that's a project I haven't rendered. I better go render that now. So the idea is that even though everyone here has like pretty powerful workstations.
They still need them.
6-core Extreme Editions, 32 gigs of RAM, all that stuff. Certain projects can bring them to their knees. Like Ed was rendering out a project the other day that he had to disable his Quadro for some reason and only use the Titans in order to render out this project. And then he was saturating his 1 gigabit LAN connection as well. So there is a reason that we're moving to 10 gigabit LAN on all the workstations properly this time, and that we are building that 24 SSD RAID array server that's going to be for everyone to work off of at the same time. And then this render farm machine is so that no matter what those guys are rendering out, no matter what it is, their machine is not what's being bogged down by it. So their machine can focus on real-time playback in, let's say DaVinci Resolve, and then that render machine is outputting whatever project they just finished.
Or Terran with his lightning fast editing doesn't have to pause to wait for something to output, although he might have to pause for RSI reasons. But
that's a whole other thing. So we want to have a look at whether it will scale to 36 cores, and we want to look at that as a workflow, because I look at what other video production guys are doing, and ones that are bigger than us and should therefore probably be more organized than us, and I kind of go, you guys just have like external hard drives with your projects? Are you insane? Like, are you completely insane? You don't have a centralized... You're using Thunderbolt? Thunderbolt is not a proper solution for professional use. That's like prosumer and being marketed as professional use. I've never been a proponent of Thunderbolt for like video editors and creative professionals. That's local storage. That's just like USB with like gold tinfoil wrapped around it. It's like a dressed up... Still, it's like FireWire.
It's the edition USB cable.
Yeah, it's new FireWire. It's I don't view that as a way to work, especially in a team environment where you want to be able to share resources. Like the fact that now we have a PCI Express SSD in our current server that everyone can put their caching files on has sped up the workflow dramatically. Whenever someone needs to load someone else's project, instead of storing all those files locally on their own machines or on a USB drive or some stupid thing like that, they fire the file up just like that. They can open up the project instead of waiting for the audio to conform or whatever else the case may be. So I'm really excited about the potential to centralize all of our data and all of our processing as much as we possibly can. So I want to go back to actually the topic that we were talking about before. Anyway, that's just kind of teasing the 36 core Xeon thing that I'm like super amped up about right now. Yep. But this is really cool. This was posted by DBZ over on the forum at Beyond 3D. And a lot of people have this perception that the AMD versus NVIDIA battle has been kind of a battle of two titans over the years.
Dear.
I could use a better word than titan. A battle of two behemoths over the years. But it's not really that way. So this is like such a cool chart. Have you seen this?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it goes all the way from Q3 2003. And you know what I love about the timing of this? My first graphics card was a 9600 Pro.
I had... was it a 9600 XT? I had something from back then.
So this was the first discrete graphics card that I ever bought with my own money. So this is like the entire history of as long as I've been paying attention. So while we go through here, actually maybe I'll point out all the cards I've ever owned because that might be kind of fun.
Cool.
But basically it shows the market share percentages for AMD versus NVIDIA historically across all these years. So if you look, the only time AMD was ever ahead of NVIDIA was in like just after what I would consider to be their golden age, when they were rising, the 9500 non-pro, iMemory configuration, soft modding days. So back around the time of the X800 series, X850 series, they had a really strong period here when NVIDIA completely crapped the bed with the 5000 series. So that kind of took, you can see that these things take a little while to even kick in too, because NVIDIA came back with 6800, which were very good cards, and it's amazing how slow perception is to catch up to the actual products in the market. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. AMD was ahead for a period of, looks like about a year. And then, since then, it's actually been kind of frightening. I mean, even at times when AMD has had very, very compelling products, like I personally really liked the 3870. I thought that was a great product. And if we go back and we find where that launched, so here's the X2, which we put, 3870 right here. AMD was limping along with 37% market share at that time. And that was when 3870 was up against I guess 8800 cards. So the 8800, you know what, curiously, I can't find the 8800 GT on this stupid thing, which is like the most important card that existed within this era.
I'm not even gonna lie, that's the only thing I've been looking for.
Yeah, it's. I don't think
I
it's
found
on here.
GTS.
Yeah, I found GTS. I found 9800 GT, which is the same card.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, you go along and you kind of go, AMD's been doing okay. 35 to 40% market share. This is what's happened in the last couple of quarters. That is some terrifying stuff right there. What incentive does NVIDIA have to continue to improve anything when they have 76% market share? Because let me tell you guys, the way business works is you invest in areas where you see growth for your company.
Which is why I was it the WAN show in Japan?
Yeah, WAN in Japan.
Or did I even talk about this on the show, or did I just talk about this to the Omron guys?
It was all a blur.
The investment that NVIDIA has been doing, and like the fact that Elon Musk went to one of their conferences because they've been working on Tegra for cars.
Yep.
A huge focus for them has been stuff for cars.
Because what are they going to do? Sell another 24% more widgets, be a monopoly, and all of a sudden have to deal with a bunch of antitrust nonsense and monopoly laws? Like, there isn't even really any incentive for them to push any harder against AMD,
nope.
Like at all. They don't want them to just go out of business tomorrow. I'm fairly certain.
That would be bad.
So I forget where I was going with this. Right. So is it any great mystery that in spite of AMD having cards that on paper look pretty good for the dollar, that they're doing poorly if people refuse to buy them? So everyone out there collectively is not buying the cards, and that's why AMD is in the situation that they're in today. Let's go ahead and I do want to do that thing though. Why don't you and I each pick out all the cards that we had over the years?
My problem is some of the earlier ones were not my computers specifically. They were like family computers.
I can just do it then.
My first dedicated computer had an 8800 GTS.
Okay,
which
so
is on here. So
you're quite a bit later. All right.
Well, I had earlier cards. Like I had a 9600, I think XT, but those were in family computers.
So my first card was an all-in-wonder 9600 Pro.
Yeah, sick.
From there, I upgraded to an X800 Pro. So I think that's right around here. From there, I went to an X850 Pro, which should be somewhere in here, even if it's not listed there. From there, I went to an X850 XT Platinum Edition. So it's an 850 XT Platinum Edition. Yep, there it is. From there, I went to a 7800 GT. From there, I had two 7800 GTXs at one point. I picked them up off a guy who was selling them for way too little. I ran them in my system for 3 days, and then I was like afraid to hold them anymore because I literally didn't have that kind of money at the time. So I needed to flip them. I just bought them so I could like game like that, have the experience, and I got rid of those things right away.
Did you make money off it though?
Yeah, I made money.
Yeah.
So then I had what was it? I didn't upgrade the 78. You know what? I had a 6800 GT for a few days as well. I bought a Chain Tech one, back when like Chain Tech existed. I was actually kind of an AMD guy, like back in the earlier days. Like the cards that actually stayed in my rig were generally AMD until I went to a 7900 GT, and then I went to two of those. And then I went to two 7950 GTs and SLI. That was my SLI era. From there, I went to two 8800 GTS 320 megs. From there, I went to two 8800 GTS 640 meg cards. From there, I went to... You stayed in that
8000 series for a little while.
I stuck with the 8000 series for quite some time. And then, you know what? I actually downgraded from a full desktop.
Okay.
And then I went with a small machine for a bit, and I threw a 3870 in it.
Because didn't you have... I thought you had that crazy 8800 GTX with the wrong cooler on it or something.
Or
what was that?
Wrong cooler on it.
Or was it the right cooler?
Can't remember.
The crazy blower one that was too tall.
Oh, that
I don't remember
was,
what the story behind that card was.
That wasn't a personal rig card.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a card.
Okay.
So then I went with a 3870, and the reason for that was D-Tech had their Fusion GFX, which was perfectly compatible with the built-in Unisync that was already on the 3870.
Yeah.
So all you had to do was buy a GPU-only water block, and I had a liquid-cooled Silverstone Sugo SG01 where I dremeled out the top of the case and put a 320mm rad on the top, ran the tubes down the back, and then inside through a couple of holes that I drilled. That was a pretty cool little rig, but the problem was that it just was too loud. So from there, I went to, let's see, it's a 3870. I want to say I went to GTX 260 from there.
I had a 260 in my mineral oil rig for a really long time, 4 or 5 years.
Then I went to two 260s. Then I think I stuck with that for quite some time because not a whole lot came out for a while. My wife actually still has a 5870 Ifinity edition. That was a really cool card. Like back then, 6 mini DisplayPort outputs? Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, the tech demos they did with it were stupid because that card, I mean, even old games, that card couldn't drive 6 1080p displays and actually game. Not to mention that gaming on 6 displays is dumb because you've got a bezel right down the middle of everything, no matter what. It's just
you either have like this crazy long one right down the middle this way, or you have a whole bunch vertically. And
remember, Ifinity in portrait didn't exist back then, so there was no 5 displays in portrait. So the card just like didn't make an ounce of sense. So from there, I want to say I went to a single 470 or something along those lines. Then I had a...
My next card was a 480.
Here it gets blurry because this is where I started being pretty heavy into NCIX tech tips, and so the line between what card was in my rig and what card was on the bench was very blurry. So
it's true.
So personal rig card at that time, I've gotta say, was it a 580? I think I had a 580 at some point. I had a 590 at one point. I know that. And then I went Titan from there. And so you can tell that I used to be one of those guys that was upgrading their graphics card every single time something new dropped. And something that I thought was really interesting about this graph, going back to it again, actually, I'm just going to drop us on there one more time, is look at all these cards. Look at the density of cards, and then all of a sudden...
Then it starts to thin out a lot.
2011 hits, and it just kind of went away.
Yeah.
It used to be really fun to upgrade your graphics card every 6 months, and like...
There's bigger changes, too.
Huge changes.
Like, the lack of density here is also important in something that doesn't show in the graph, which is the amount of improvement between the cards compared to some jumps previously.
Yeah, I mean, the 5700 Ultra is basically a DirectX 8 card. Let's not kid ourselves. The 5950 is like barely DX9, like barely. NVIDIA abandoned that thing so fast. That hardware was like bad. That 5000 series stuff was some bad hardware. And then so you jump ahead to first DirectX 10 card. What was that? The 8800 GTX, if I recall correctly. Oh no, it might have actually been the 2900 XT. Who was first?
But I don't remember.
I don't remember. Anyway, so that era, that is huge differences in the way the graphics cards work. I mean, that's going from a graphics card just being for video games to a graphics card being for video games and even the beginning of CUDA. I mean, look at all the innovation that happens here.
Yeah.
And then now we have like faster CUDA.
It's sad. And GPU boost.
We do have GPU boost. I guess there's that.
Which, like, does weird things.
Yeah, it does do weird things. At least you've got that in common with it.
Yeah. Oh.
I know about your weird things. Hey, it's the UPS guy, our favorite person.
That's always a good sign. We know them all now.
Yeah, I know, right? The FedEx guy wants me to build him a computer. He's like, so do you have a deal on a computer? I'm like, I don't know, man. I got like parts. People are always asking me this. They're like my father-in-law is like, oh, one of my friends wants to buy a computer. Do you have any computers? I'm like, yeah, but are they appropriate?
No,
probably not.
Like someone who wants to buy the iMac.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, let's make it go away.
Yeah.
If I never have to see it again, then that'll be a good thing. Oh, he has 2 packages for us today.
Oh, I didn't see him for a second. I was like, wow, is it for someone else? No way.
It's always us.
Yeah.
All right, this is posted by Michael McAllister on the forum, and we've got 2 source links here, and I know Engadget is the original one, but I love John Rettinger so much. We're going to pull up his website instead.
The Techno Buffalo link is already the one that's posted in Twitch chat.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
I love John. So, and you know the funny thing is the article on Techno Buffalo here just straight up refers to the original source being, and according to Engadget, the VivoWatch offers anyway. So the point is,
credit where credit's due. That's good.
Yeah. The point is, ASUS is teasing the VivoWatch. And there's a couple of things that are notable about this. Number one is the design looks an awful lot like the Apple Watch, doesn't it?
Yep. I think watches are going to get really similar, though, to be honest.
Yes, you're right. And you could make the argument that the Apple Watch looks very similar to every other bloody thing that's strapped to your wrist and told you the time since the dawn of time itself.
Yes.
So you know, like, I get that. But it really does look very similar.
It does.
If you put the crown on it, took away the
know.
ASUS logo, you could tell me that's an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, it's not gold. That's weird.
They didn't spend enough money on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the edition or no?
So there's a couple cool things about this one. Number one is that actually it looks very classy.
Mm-hmm.
It looks as classy as the Apple Watch. Not quite to my personal taste. I actually very much prefer the more utilitarian look of something like the LG G Watch R. And if I'm going to go with something that looks a little bit nicer, I like something a little more industrial looking and square, like the Pebble Steel. A lot of people have remarked that I'm back to the Pebble Steel. Not for any particular reason, other than that I dropped my G Watch R charger and it's proprietary and I haven't gotten around to replacing it yet. So I broke it. So yeah, there's that.
Really sucks.
And you know what going back to the Pebble Steel after having been away from it for so long has made me realize? They've made a lot of improvements for one thing. It's really snappy now. Like it's like really responsive now.
Yeah.
And 2, as much as I really like Android Wear, and I'm going to go back to Android Wear at the earliest opportunity because I really like being able to interact via voice for quick text responses and stuff like that. As much as I like Android Wear, I don't feel like the way that it's integrated with Android really has that much of a value right now. I think that Pebble, in spite of their proprietary third-party operating system, is able to give me as compelling a value. If the hardware was better, and I'm really excited to check out the Pebble Time, if the hardware was better, they're able to give me a very compelling experience, even though, you know, they don't tie directly into iOS the way that an Apple Watch would, or directly into Android the way that an Android Wear Watch would. Let's not get them too stoked yet. Let's just kind of stash it here for now. But yes, we will definitely be doing that. Put that on Luke's shelf. It's a replacement for the giveaway one. Okay, so anyway, 10-day battery life. So that leads me really well into the other exceptional thing about the VivoWatch. So it's going to be a very fitness-oriented thing, which I personally give exactly 0 cares about. But what I think is interesting is that it's not Android
Wear. I care about fitness-oriented things. Not
Android Wear this time.
Ooh.
So that's not to say, I don't know that ASUS is like has the best track record as far as building their own operating systems for things goes. But I am a little bit more...
We don't like the AI suite thing so much, but the UEFI setup is quite good.
That's true.
So that's a very different... I don't know. It could be fine.
That's true. So it could be fine. I'm reserving judgment.
Yeah.
But the point was, if I hadn't gone back to the Pebble Steel recently and kind of realized all over again that I don't need to have Android with Android, Apple OS with Apple OS, I would be a lot more closed-minded about this. But as it is, I kind of want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to try it out.
Yeah, that's cool. If you want me to test the fitness stuff, I can do that.
Yeah, I'll
as long as my knees aren't totally busted.
I'll leave that to you. Yeah, you should probably give an update while I get this ready. Or have you told them?
Not exactly.
Oh,
actually.
you don't have to. If you
I
don't
showed
want to.
them the cane. So I'm an old person. I screwed up my knees doing squats. There's issues with personal trainer conflicts and all this other stuff and blah blah blah. Someone should have been doing whatever. Anyways, my knees are super messed up right now, but it's not the end of the world. I have some fairly minor cartilage issues in both of my knees, and I have muscle bruising and some other stuff, so they're a little not doing great right now. But I'm doing some weird new age stuff like foam rolling and crap that my physiotherapist told me to do, and I'm working on it, so I'll be fine. ETA, couple weeks. It'll be alright.
Yeah, that's...
It's hard to go upstairs, though, and there's a lot of stairs in this house, so that's been a little bit of an issue. But people like Nick have been hooking me up, so it's okay.
Fewer stairs at the new place.
That'll be good.
In fact, no stairs until we build out the
Yeah.
upstairs. so there's
helpful.
that.
But we probably won't be there until I'm done doing this.
All right, so we are going to do a super special live unboxing. We each get one.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't have a knife.
Me neither.
So
I can't use my cane. I have a bottle cap thing, which was for fizzy water, not beer.
I have my Hello Kitty key.
What happened to your keychain key?
I was flying recently.
Okay.
So
I was like, oh my goodness.
I have not been home yet.
I was
So,
like, if that thing started to fail, you would have ordered another one. So what the hell
No.
happened?
My two knives that I normally have
Yeah.
on me are not on me.
Which makes sense.
My professional unboxing knives. There's actually 3 boxes, but this is pretty much the most exciting package that we're going to receive until the Xeons show up.
Wow. Look at all of them. And this is like, each one of these things is 2. So I'm going to spread them out a little bit. Whoa. They're all SSDs.
So,
I'll show you one properly.
Kingston just gave us the straight hookup for the new server. So like
all the
piles.
I literally can't even hold them all.
I literally can't even. That's about all there is to say about it. We have 24 960 gig KC series SSDs that we are going to be installing. Actually, you know what? I should have gotten up when you were buying time for me. Here, you can open this last box because I have to go get 3 other very important pieces of this as well.
Oh my goodness, okay.
I don't know if I told you that those had arrived yet.
Is this the...
It's more.
Oh, it's just more SSDs?
It's even more.
Ah.
So you can make one huge pile.
Oh my god, it's even more. Okay, give me a moment. I'll try to stack them all. Now, it's more, as he just said. So now I'm going to try to stack them in the, like, space-saving way. So I'm going to stack them like this, which is really the density of 1, even though it's 2. So I want to point that out real quick. And then I'm going to try and stack all of them.
Okay. Now...
I'm going to play Minecraft with SSDs.
So this is actually a really important part of the puzzle as well. Now, normally, when you do an SSD RAID array, you reach an internal bottlenecks on your controller or PCI Express before you can actually run out of, SATA ports to plug more and more solid-state drives into, because these things are so high performance. I mean, each of these is good for in the neighborhood of 0.5 gigabyte per second. So you go ahead and you throw 24 of them in an array, and we're talking 12 gigabytes per second of theoretical raw read and write speeds. What can handle that kind of bandwidth? So you're not going to be using your onboard SATA controller on your motherboard or anything like that. So we actually got not 1, not 2, but 3 LSI MegaRAID 9271 8i SAS cards. Although they'll be running in SATA mode with these particular SSDs, but So we have 3 separate RAID controllers, so we can overcome the internal bottlenecking of even a high-end standalone RAID controller card.
Usually isn't really a problem once you get to the RAID, the like dedicated card. It's usually fine. It's usually just when it's on the motherboard that you could potentially have an issue.
With magnetic drives, you're going to run into bottlenecks pretty quick. I mean, you start adding more than 3 SSDs to an Intel onboard RAID solution, and you're not going to be getting.
That's what I'm saying. SSDs on onboard can still cap it pretty quick, but those you don't usually cap cards very quickly.
So this is going to be sick. This is going to be basically. I think what I'm going to go with is a 20 terabyte RAID 6 with a hot spare, and then we actually had Kingston send 25.
I thought you shrugged when you said hot spare. You know, whatever.
Hot spare SSD, whatever. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, a hot spare allows the array to be rebuilt automatically if one of the drives were to fail or drop out of the array for whatever reason. And then we actually had them send 25, so we're going to have a cold spare as well. So if a drive fails and the hot spare kicks in, we pull that out, we throw in the cold spare, and we have now a hot spare that our cold spare becomes.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people talk about how RAID is sort of dead. And this is a conversation that gets brought up a lot. RAID is dead for certain applications. And it's amazing how many people saw our 100 terabyte server and said, "Why are you running RAID?" I never said I was running RAID. Never once did I say I was running RAID. And there was another thing. I posted an Instagram picture of me doing some testing on it. "Why are you running Windows on a file server?" I'm not running Windows on a file server. I'm running Windows on the client so that I can transfer files, because our clients are going to be Windows.
Yeah.
Because they're video editing machines. Like, the fact that people just assume that... Anyway, so the point is, the problem with RAID...
They should make the internet the ASNet. AssumeNet.
The AssumeNet.
It's short for ASNet. GTA, you can steal that in your next game if you want.
So the problem with RAID, bringing us back on topic, is that if you have a drive fail, and you've got, let's say each of your drives is 6 terabytes, like that 30 drive or 27 drive system that we have downstairs, each of your drives is 6 terabytes, there is every so often the laws of probability state that you're going to have a bit flip and you're going to have data corruption. And once your drives reach a certain capacity, the odds of, if that drive fails, trying to rebuild that drive without one of your other drives failing during intensive reading become so great that you're basically guaranteed to have your array fail just from trying to rebuild it every time. Now, in practice, we have not found that to be the case. We have a large 3 terabyte drive array with consumer, I have refurb drives in there. Yeah. I'm a bad person. We're doing it properly this time, though, I promise. And we have rebuilt that array lots of times. And in theory, the theory crafting mathematicians on the internet
a ton of times
would suggest that a 3 terabyte drive is far too big for even a RAID 6 and blippity bloopity bloppity. And the point is, we've been lucky, or it's fine. But one way or another, we are running ZFS 2 this time around. So we have 3 pools of 9 drives, each of which can sustain 2 drive failures. And then the way that ZFS handles rebuilding drive failures is different in such a way as you don't have the odds of the drives failing, etc., etc. So, we're kind of doing everything properly this time. But bringing it back to the SSDs, these are low enough capacity and high enough speed that you can rebuild an array extremely quickly on them. And these are only for our actual daily work server. We are going to be doing, thanks to all the I/O that we're going to have with these bad boys, I am expecting multiple gigabytes per second of raw performance from this array. With all the I/O we're going to have another server, another pool somewhere elsewhere on the network, connected via 10 gigabit, that is going to be doing, we haven't decided exactly how often, but maybe hourly dumps from the SSD array that everyone's working off of at the same time, because it's going to have mad IOPS.
I'm not going to go too far into it because none of it's solidified, but with that new system that you and I were just talking about, it can be way faster.
You think so?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So we're going to have...
I don't know.
I should just go straight up RAID 0 on it then. No, I shouldn't. That's really stupid. 24 drive RAID 0 is straight stupid. With that said, my 8 drive RAID 0 in my personal rig.
Did it's is that you still have that?
Yeah,
right?
it's 100% fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But these are actually going to be used in a way that my personal rig doesn't get used. Like they're going to be hammered.
Yeah.
So that's
a little bit different. Yeah. Overall, written data is going to be quite different.
Holy cow! It is after 6.
It is. We started really late.
How is that even possible?
We started really late.
We're on page 2 of 8 in the doc.
We made it to page 2? Oh wow, we did.
We're basically bad people.
Yeah.
Okay, so posted by Syntax VGM on the forum.
All right.
Google gives a response to the EU antitrust investigations that would have the EU attempting to fine Google on the order of multiple billions of dollars. What was it?
Maybe they should have fined Bell that much. Have we talked about Bell yet?
We haven't talked. We'll talk about Bell later. Maybe the problem with this is, and I've seen a few people bring this up. Where was the EU when Google wasn't allowing Microsoft to build a YouTube app? That is some anti-competitive stuff right there.
Yeah.
Whereas the three things, so this is from the Google blog, and I'll give you guys a couple of snippets from it later, but the 3 things that they're accusing Google of doing that are anti-competitive are just kind of, like, one of them is that they're forcing handset makers to install their applications if they want to have the powered by Android branding or whatever, and I'm kind of sitting here going, well, they can use AOSP, they can fork their own Android, and you know what? Then they don't get the Play Store. You know what? Then they don't get to take advantage of the ecosystem. That's business.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Google's whole thing is like, here's this free OS if you include our services with it. It's like, here's, I saw a really good example. I think it was in the comments on the blog here. You know, it's like if a shop is like, you know, here's free ice cream if you shop in our store. It's like, well, we don't want to shop in your store, so we just want the ice cream.
Well, that's not how that works. Or
no.
To go to the washroom, you have to buy something.
Yeah. It's like, you don't have to use our washroom. You can go make your own bathroom. Which probably I don't recommend. But anyway, the point is, a couple good quotes from here. So, the European Commission has asked questions about our partner agreements. These are quotes from the Google blog. It's important to remember that these are voluntary partner agreements. With that said, the word on the street is that they have been kind of hardline about how the partner agreements work and whether you can make
the secret Google Club thing.
Yeah, the whole secret Google Club thing. So if the EU kind of blows that open a little bit and we find out Google has been doing uncompetitive things, and this is a whole other ball of wax, but right now Google is very much on the defensive. They're talking about how anti-fragmentation agreements ensure that apps work across all different sorts of Android devices, whether it's a phone or a TV box or a streaming device or whatever else the case may be. Our app distribution agreements make sure people get a great out-of-the-box experience with useful apps on the home screen right there. So part of Google's requirements that you're going to have your Gmail and your Chrome browser and all that stuff right on the home screen. Something that doesn't personally bother me. Like, are we going to tell Apple they can't have Safari on the iPhone?
I don't care.
Apple's going to be like, right there, buddy. We're going to put Safari wherever we want to. And that is different. And I know. Please do not flood my inbox. I know. Apple is not entering an agreement with a handset maker to blippity-bloopity. I get it. But the point is that to control the end-user experience, and I don't mean control, I mean protect the end-user experience, because quite frankly, the kind of software that the handset makers and the carriers will load on your phone if Google doesn't push Chrome and Gmail down your throat is a lot worse, historically. I forget where I was going with this. Anyway, the point is, yes, it's different, but I don't necessarily object to it as long as Google's applications are better. But that's where the whole antitrust thing comes in, and allegedly Google is using their position as a dominant player to not allow anyone to try anything better and not, not give smaller application makers a chance to compete.
Yeah.
So I'll be following this. I'll be really interested to see if we end up with like a version of Android with no Internet Explorer and MSN Messenger. Or maybe with Internet Explorer and MSN Messenger. Remember, that was the result of the Windows antitrust nonsense.
Yeah, I was like, what do you even...
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a... Gotcha.
All right, so original poster for our next one is Victoria's Secret, and Tesla home battery details emerge, and these things are friggin' cool.
They're awesome.
It's like a UPS for your entire home, and basically it's like a big.
Is that an official photo?
I don't think so.
I don't think that's official photo.
Because the word on the street is they're gonna stick a little bit above ground. They're gonna be nice looking, and they should be like separate from your home. I think you can install solar cells on top of them. Ignore this. Okay. Ignore the photo. Just relax your.
The photo bugged me.
Relax your boobies. So here's some supposed details from people that. So a stock analyst for Global Equities Research has sent a note to his investors with some details. He claims 230 California homes currently have a Tesla home battery installation. There are another 100 in homes in other states. So here's the word on the street. The battery has to be installed at 1.5 feet above the ground and should have an open space of 1 feet on each side. That's a third of a meter for the Europeans. Or half of a meter for the first part. The battery does not make any noise, does not need any maintenance, and has no drippings. That's good. It has
probably
no
important
drippings
for a battery. That would be horrible.
The battery includes an inverter, so you can take your AC power and charge the battery. It's about 3 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide, so it's about 1 meter by 0.5 of a meter, or 4/5 of a meter, excuse me.
And looks good.
And the installer offered a choice apparently between a 10 kilowatt hour battery and a 15 kilowatt hour battery. Pricing for the 10 kilowatt hour is said to be in the $13,000 US range. Not too shabby if you are really smart, like this
strapping young man.
Yeah, the one owner is apparently charging his battery at night when electricity is cheaper in the area, and then selling it back to his utility company during peak hours for a profit estimated $12 to $15 a month, pretty much covering the monthly amortized cost of the battery, which you can buy on a 10-year payment plan.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you put down about $1,500, it will then be about monthly $15 a month for 10 years.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, but then if you do that sell it back thing, it might be nothing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
that's
awesome.
Kind of smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I mean, just the idea of... Do we remember how long these are going to run your home?
No.
I can't remember anymore. I remember when we were initially talking about this, and I can't do the 10 or 15 watt hour math right now in my head. So, very, very cool. It's like a gigantic UPS for your house, though.
I think it's freaking awesome. And I'm excited about the sell it back to the grid thing. Although I do have to wonder if a lot of people jump on this, if the potential money from that will go down.
I think it'll go down, but I don't think it'll go down fast or dramatically enough to be a problem. Because the thing about the peak hours thing is that that's peak hours. There's nothing the utility company can do about it. If they need the extra electricity, well, they can either buy it back from their customers, which creates goodwill with their customers, or they can buy it from out of state, which does nothing.
Yeah.
Does nothing beneficial. So,
but if they're buying it back from the customers, and there's a massive amount of customers that are willing to sell it,
it's going to be minuscule amounts.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's going to turn into a problem. I mean, maybe like in the Bay Area, it becomes an issue.
Right. Yeah.
But like where the early adopter Centralville, you know.
Yeah.
But even
then,
then,
Tesla's down there.
Exactly.
Okay. Anyways, yeah.
All right, let's move on to original poster. Oh, actually, you know what? We should move on to our sponsors.
There you go, Nick.
Is Nick messaging us about that?
I'm sure he is. I don't know. I'm just sure he is because it's 6:16.
Tell him to keep his friggin' pants on. Lynda.com, no. Speaking of keeping your pants on, you can learn with no pants on at all on Lynda.com. Head over to Lynda.com/WAN show and learn all kinds of things. They have over 3,000 courses available. They have software training like Excel and WordPress and Photoshop. They have web development training, photography training, visual design, business training. All the courses are taught by industry experts with new courses added every week, and you don't have to wear pants. I cannot emphasize this enough. You sit in front of your computer.
Neither of us, we might not be wearing pants.
We might not. Actually, I got up. I might not be wearing pants anymore.
I might not be wearing pants at all.
I might be able to take them off extremely stealthily.
He could.
I could be sitting across from you at the dinner table, and you'd be like smiling, we'd be having pleasant dinner conversation, and then I stand up and bam!
No pants.
Game of Thrones. So... let's go ahead and sort of move on with our Lynda. So anyway, you can get a 10-day free trial for Lynda.com if you're not sure if the $25 a month entry-level plan is right for you. So you I mean, that's basically it. lynda.com/WAN show. Try it out. Learn a few things. We have a few people here at Linus Media Group who obtain skills on lynda.com and use them in their daily work, and that is a super cool thing.
Yes.
Learning online, man.
Great. I could pretend this is a book of SSDs.
You're gonna be her again, aren't you?
Linda, yeah. I'm learning about how it's 15 times plus rapid.
I'm moving on. Freshbooks. Freshbooks is a tool for really, I mean, the way that I see it being used is for like people like your dad when he was running his own business.
Yep.
Because I'm going to tell kind of a funny story. Okay, first I'll give a brief rundown of what Freshbooks is. So it's a tool to get it's a cloud tool to get your accounting done quickly and easily. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? Okay. So the idea is that you can bill your hours very easily because you can log where you're going and what you're doing. You can create invoices and send them to your clients online. You can log when they've looked at them, so you know, hey, you looked at it, you know you owe me money, let's get this going. And you can take payments by credit card. Like, it just makes all those stupid little things that you'd normally be chasing easier to keep track of. So it's freshbooks.com/WAN, and enter WAN in the How Did You Hear About Us section when you sign up for your free trial. It's worth giving a shot to, just so you can see if it helps you stay a little bit more organized, especially if you're running around from job to job.
Yeah, it's even cool for like something that's possibly more applicable to you guys. I don't think you said this, but like when I was younger, I did a lot of freelance IT stuff. I'd go work for little law offices, or I'd go build people computers, or maintain their like family computer. It wasn't a ton of work. But
in-home service is a great example.
Yeah, and especially because I had a normal job at the same time, I didn't want to manage all that crap, so this actually would have been really helpful.
You know what's really funny is so many people message me asking if they should build computers for people for like spare money, and I'm like, no. You should do servicing on people's computers for spare money. Yeah. That is way more lucrative.
Oh, it is.
It's way, way better money. Anyway, so...
You can build a new computer for the people that you're servicing your computer for, so you can keep them as a customer.
My example where your dad is about to get hardcore wrecked, it took him 9 months to get me an invoice for the copper for whole room water cooling. We are literally in the early stages of moving out of this office by the time he's billing me for the copper for that project. And I'm going to pay him right away. And I kept chasing him.
Yep, and he did.
Luke's mom said to me, I don't know, you don't know this. When I walked out to get the invoice, she actually dropped it off here at the office. She handed me the invoice and said, I am so glad he doesn't run his own business anymore.
Oh! Oh no!
But maybe FreshBooks would have helped. But he's teaching now, so he doesn't need to keep track of that stuff anymore.
Oh, wrecked. That's why she's glad. It's because he just didn't do the whole paperwork thing so much. He'll fix or build whatever
the thing together
heck you
great.
Want. Oh yeah, he'll do whatever you want. But he won't necessarily bill you right away.
All right, so let's do our last spot here. We've actually, I think all of our sponsor spots today have something a little bit different. So check this out. This is Squarespace's. I'm actually going to go ahead and screen share for a minute here. But this is their NYC commit.
Commit.
There we go. NYC _commit campaign. This isn't the first time that we've brought it up when Squarespace is hiring, because they really do make a song and dance and production out of the whole thing.
Yep.
Basically, instead of just having you come in for an interview the way that a company would normally behave, Squarespace go ahead and for engineers that qualify for an interview, they give them a chance to come to the city and experience New York as part of their interview process. So if you are an engineer, software engineer, not like, bulldozer mechanical engineer.
Electrical engineer.
Yeah, so if you're a software engineer and you're interested in getting involved in Squarespace, these guys have been absolutely exploding over the last few years. They seem like a really cool team whenever we work with them. Go ahead and drop over to nycommit.squarespace.com. Submit your resume. The worst that can happen is they don't get back to you or you don't get an interview. The best that can happen is you start working there, and if you even just get an interview, you get to go and they'll pay for your trip to New York to go hang out there for a little bit and experience that city. I think it's a really cool way to handle the hiring process. On to the normal Squarespace messaging. They make website building tools that are super intuitive and easy to use. They have 24/7 tech support. It's only $8 a month at the start, and you get a free domain if you buy it for a year. They have responsive design, which means it looks great on your phone, looks great on your tablet, looks great on your desktop, looks great on your friggin' SSD, and you can start a trial with no credit card required. You have 2 weeks to build your site. If you decide you like it, then go ahead and use offer code Linus to get 10% off your first purchase. Thank you, Squarespace, for supporting the WAN show!
Yeah!
And they apparently have a new slogan.
Build it beautiful.
Squarespace. Build it beautiful.
Squarespace.
Squarespace. Jeff Bridges.
Sleep tips.
You know what? I don't know if you saw this post on Instagram.
I did, yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
I creeped the crap out of myself. Lying there in bed with, like, my Squarespace shirt on. It's such a comfy shirt. Normally, like, I try not to completely go out of my way to wear the shirts of our sponsored brands all the time for no reason. Just because it looks shilly. But, like, they're really comfy. They're even, like, American Apparel shirts. They feel nicer than the other ones I own.
Yeah.
Like, they're just really nice. And so I'm, like, laying there in bed. I use them for pajamas a lot. So I'm laying there in bed in my Squarespace pajamas, and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about the dude. I cannot stop thinking about the dude.
He probably would have worn a house coat.
Yeah. I should get a house coat.
Yeah.
I'm not that into house coats.
No.
All
Get
right.
one of those ones that are just like a towel and then just use it as a towel.
Oh my goodness, we have so many topics that we haven't even begun to touch that are excellent. Yep. Okay, Overlord. Engadget posts, IKEA has introduced a range of wireless charging lamps and tables. I still think they've completely missed the boat with the design of these. I think they're hideous. And I did call for a wireless charging bedside lamp quite some time ago.
But
sorry, go ahead.
Not necessarily like that.
Not like this. A number of you pointed these out to me and went, hey, I think Linus thought of this.
No.
Similar.
Different.
I had, like...
Better.
It was... Like, you know, the stupid thing is, like, I'm not an artistic person, so I have this vision in my head of what it should look like, but for me to actually get that into a 3D modeling program or even on a piece of paper is impossible for me. Basically mine would... Like, I think wireless charging would be an optional sort of thing. Like, you could have a module that goes into it that allows you to add wireless charging, but it would actually just be a cable organizer and USB cables that allow you to keep all your phones in one place and stuff like that. Anyway, I think it's really cool. I think it's really forward-thinking. I don't like the designs, but there's plenty of time for that to be improved. They support the Qi standard. The thing about Qi is it just keeps not going away. I mean, what is it? Power Mat or what's the other one? I don't remember. Qi versus...
I've never really gotten that
PMA.
super into wireless charging because I don't think it's that great.
Yep, Qi versus PMA, it's great for certain things. Having the wireless dock in the car, thumbs up. Because when I'm using navigation is when I hit my battery hardest. So...
On like that dock where it holds it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But like the bedside wireless charging, I've never understood.
No, I'll just plug in my phone normally. Unless... But the thing is do you want to wear out your micro USB connector? Because that's a thing. But then wireless charging heats up your phone and wears out your battery.
I don't have an Android phone right now.
Right, so you straight up can't take advantage of wireless charging at all.
But I wouldn't want to because the connector on here is way better than micro USB.
Get wrecked, bro. It really is.
It's so much better.
You can sleep with it under your pillow and not worry about it. Like
there's still things I really like about Android, but I don't miss micro USB at all. Not even remotely. This cable is just so much better. And like USB-C is pretty cool. This one's better at being reversible.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
And like by a lot.
Yep.
So, I don't know. That's kind of unfortunate.
All right, MacRumors.com says the Apple Watch is, or actually I don't know if this quote is from them or from Business Insider, but global Apple Watch pre-orders exceed 2.3 million units. So to put this in perspective, Pebble has sold about over 1 million smartwatches since they started ever. And Apple allegedly, we're not going to get sales numbers until Apple decides to disclose them, but Apple allegedly pre-order sold 1 million on the first day. So is the Apple Watch a success commercially? Pretty much, yes, it already is. Is the Apple Watch a success as a product? I haven't tried one yet. I do want to try one. I'll get my hands on one at some point. I'm not going to worry about being the first one with an Apple Watch or anything like that, so I'll pick one up whenever I kind of feel like it. And then once I try it, I'll let you guys know if it manages to change my mind. But I am really not convinced based on everything that I know about the spec, based on everything I know about the functionality, and based on everything that I've read between the lines in the initial reviews. Even from, remember guys, the people who are getting early Apple Watches are going to be Apple zealots, or they are going to be long-time Apple coverage providers abiding by all the rules that allow them to continue to get Apple products seeded to them. Apple is notorious for, like, you know what, the people that we deal with are pretty darn good about, if we give a negative review to something from Corsair, they're like, okay, and they'll send us the next one and hope it does better. Apple is notorious for, if you don't, you know, walk the line properly, you can get your whole publication cut off, not just yourself personally. So you have to read between the lines on an Apple review, and I read an awful lot of tepid positivity. So I don't know. I'll try
Pretty
it.
Interesting.
We'll see how it goes.
Akita in the Twitch chat says, in all capital letters, for someone who doesn't like Apple, you should report on them a lot.
Well, they're pretty important. They've sold more smartwatches than everyone else combined. They haven't even shipped any yet. They're just pre-selling.
I still prefer my Android phone. I use this for one specific app that isn't on Android that I need for some back-end stuff. But regardless to that, Apple's extremely important, and things that they do shape the industry.
Yeah, you guys have to understand, this is our job.
Yeah.
We can't just ignore Apple because Apple's a bad company. Steve Jobs is bad. Like, we can't
Jobs is dead.
We can't fanboy like that. It's not about that for us. We have to look at what they do or what they don't do, and we have to compare it to what others do or don't do, and then we have to evaluate it based on our experiences with the product. And if we don't talk about it, and we don't look into it, and we don't try it, and we don't use it, then everything we say is basically worthless at that point in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I would not pay attention to an Android phone review from someone who only uses Apple devices. It's not useful. And that's why it took me, I think it took me about a year to really get to the point where I could do Android phone coverage that I think is contributing something, as opposed to just regurgitating what everyone else is saying, because I had been just an Apple user up till then, and there's so many little tiny differences, and they're changing all the time, that you just basically have to use them both in order to keep track of it. That's why you guys will actually see, where is it? Yep.
Mine's in my office. I still carry my Moto X.
I am almost always carrying...
I actually tried to leave both my phones in my office. The only reason why this one is here is because I needed my sign-in code for Twitter.
Right.
And so I got Nick to go grab it because I can't move very well.
So, moving on to not Apple, New Zealand VPN providers set to be sued by TV networks. Two providers in New Zealand, and this is from kitguru.net, two providers in New Zealand refused to put harsher blocks in place for their users to keep them from accessing overseas, out-of-country content, circumventing the licensing agreements that are in place for television and or movie programming. So a popular usage model for VPNs is accessing US Netflix, which is infinitely better than every other Netflix combined, with the exception of, I've heard the UK is okay.
Yeah.
But I haven't really used it much. So TVNZ and Sky TV networks claim that by offering VPN service called Plus and bypass network services are complicit in customers watching overseas content. I don't really see how it's any of anyone's business what, if you're a VPN company, I really don't understand. I'm with Call Plus and BNS here. It's none of our business what our customers are accessing through the VPN. The entire reason they're using a VPN is for their privacy.
Yes.
And basically, they're the only two, it appears, or at least they're the only two major ones that refused to stop offering that service to their customers. Apparently, most of the other VPN services in New Zealand complied with the TV networks putting pressure on them to not allow that to be done by their users. Very interesting. I mean, this is something that is going to come to a head, and this is something that I think the TV networks are going to win this one, because you look, they're going to keep putting pressure. I mean, okay, the thing is that these are the same companies that control the licensing deals for the content.
Yeah.
So at some point, they're going to be like, Netflix is going to be like, oh, we can't stop it, and they're going to be like, figure it out, and that's going to be that.
I think that's exactly how that's going to go, and they can stop it. It's pretty easy to figure out when people are VPNing. It's not that hard. They will be fine. I wish they wouldn't, but they're not going to get away with it, which is unfortunate, but a thing.
This is a pretty cool little product. On the subject of, we've talked a lot about server crap on this WAN show, but this is a really, really cool little piece of server crap. I'm going to go ahead and try and make this bit. Man, I hate scaling. It's like I have to go like to zoom level 67% to make this page even work. So the Supermicro X10SDV-TLN4F. Man, they need better names for their motherboards.
It's Supermicro, they never will.
Yeah, I know. This is a really cool motherboard. Now, to be perfectly honest, I have no idea who the hell it's for. Straight up, no idea. It's got a PCI Express 16X slot. It's got 6 SATA 3 ports supporting RAID. It has 4 DIMM slots supporting quad-channel DDR4 up to 128 gigs. It has an onboard CPU, so it has a built-in CPU. It has dual 10 gigabit LAN. I don't think it's a storage server, because unless you're running RAID with like a hardware RAID card, you're going to be CPU bottlenecked in all likelihood. I don't think it's, a web server, because what do you need dual 10 gigabit NICs for? I don't think it's... I don't understand what this product is. It's really cool.
You run a database off of it for web? But you wouldn't need that... Wow. Okay, this computer just... I'm done.
Okay, it has an M.2 port.
Because lots of RAM can be really good for databases.
Yeah, but if you're running a database, why does it need to be mini ITX?
I don't know.
Why are you running a mini ITX database server?
What are blades?
No, blades are going to be those super skinny motherboards.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do like a super shallow 1U.
Yeah,
but why?
Who cares?
You're already using up a 1U.
Yeah. And you can get shallow racks.
Power consumption's very low. 90 watts under load. Under full CPU
How much
load.
is it? Because if you just get a bunch of extra cool features, it's going to be way too much, isn't it?
$950.
Yeah.
But the problem is the price of the CPU. So it's a Xeon D1540 embedded Xeon, and Intel is pricing that chip right up there with the E5 series Xeons. It's not pricing it like an Atom, you know?
Yeah.
So very, very cool. And these guys actually, this is pretty cool. This is servethehome.com.
I got that one, I think, but you're going to have to get future links because this laptop is kaput.
They did some pretty sweet thermal imaging. So they're showing where the NICs are heating up, showing the CPU is actually staying quite cool. I really want to get a thermal imaging camera. I don't even know what we'll do with it. I just want one.
Look at graphics cards. Be like, ooh. Look at the thing.
Toasted.
It's hot. Okay, moving on.
I'm amazed at how many... Sorry, this is totally random thought. I'm amazed at how many people bought the Sleep is for Pussies t-shirt.
Yeah.
Because, after we designed the shirt, it was one of those things where... That was another one of those, I woke up in the middle of the night, or rather, I was still awake in the middle of the night, and I was like, gamers don't sleep. We should have, a shirt that's for gamers. And then I was like, my cat is sleeping on me. He's sleeping. Sleep is for cat... That's funny. So I was like, yeah, we need this artwork with a cat sleeping on the gamer, and I've got guys like this completely uselessly expressing their concern about the design after the campaign is live, when the design is literally already done.
It was never shown the design.
And going oh, that's not real safe for school and safe for work. I don't know if people are going to be able to wear that. And I was like,
I think a lot of people bought it that aren't necessarily going to... I think a lot of people bought it as a house shirt. And some people wear it outside, and that's fine. But, I could never wear it. My My mom did the WAN show really close to that campaign, and she was like, "I can't wear that shirt on the show." And I was like, "Yep, wasn't even thinking about it. Don't worry about it. Like, not gonna happen. Like, I could never wear that around my mom. It just wouldn't happen because, yeah, sure, you're talking about a cat.
There's literally a picture.
Okay, sure.
There's a picture of a cat on the shirt.
Fine, whatever you want.
I mean, it's just like this shirt. The cat's playing with a ball.
Yeah.
Holy balls.
Yeah.
That's the kind of balls I'm talking about.
Of course it is.
There's no innuendo in here.
Nope. Not at all.
Apple is apparently worried, this was posted by Victoria's Secret, that Samsung is simply not going to make enough chips for the iPhone 6. So Apple needs A9 chips, which, if I recall correctly, are 14 nanometer manufacturing process? Like, this is some state-of-the-art freaking stuff here. The original article here is from Business Insider, and apparently Samsung has increased their projections for the Galaxy S6 based on excellent sales by roughly 40% to 50 to 55 million units for the full year. So Samsung also needs their state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities to make their own chips. And as much as, you know, you can have contracts and agreements in place and blippity-bloopity blah blah blah, really, there's nothing that Apple can do if Samsung decides to, you know, do a run of A9s and then do 3 runs of their own processors and then do 1 run of A9s and, you know,
3 for us, 1 for you.
Sorry, that batch of A9s didn't work out very well, so, you know, whatever.
Put all their defective units into the A9 batch and take all the good ones from the A9 batch and be like, it's interesting. Too bad yours sucked. Sorry.
So sorry. Sorry. I said iPhone 6. This is actually A9s for the rumored upcoming iPhone. Sorry. So basically, yeah, A9s. They're worried that they won't be able to build enough. They're moving some of their orders to TSMC, and apparently this is because Global Foundries, the spin-off from AMD from a number of years back, is having trouble with 14 nanometer. Intel is the only one that seems to have not had really, and even they had some trouble with 14 nanometer.
I think they had more time working on it, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they did, but that's because they're always ahead of the curve.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they might have had just as many troubles, just it wasn't really go time. So it was fine. I'm slowly catching up here.
All right. Well, no, I think that's pretty much it. Oh. How did you get that booted? It just was like no. Oh, right. We have 2 of them. Lol. I think one of our SSGs just outright failed.
Yep.
In the JZ.
Yep.
Which is like there's no excuse for that because there's lots of cooling.
Here's the one that wasn't working, and here's the other one. So I hot swapped laptops mid-show.
Awesome.
But then it was useless.
Yeah, mid-show is sort of a
at the end of the show.
Yeah, at the end of the show. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Is that from like super old school Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly where.
Someone was asking me where it was from the other day, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's super old school Batman.
Worked this time.
Boop-a-da-bop-bop. Yeah, it sometimes, just not always. Beep-a-da-boop.
You're not even trying to sing along with it.
I was making the noises of them moving. Carrying the couch and stuff. Squarespace! Freshbooks! Linda!